one of such discipline is again. And secondly, it goes on to state, to assist in its work, the committee shall have the power to co-opt experts or enlist the aid of other persons of appropriate expertise, whether or not such experts or persons are members of the National Assembly. Now, this was based on what we wanted in Guyana, a congressional type committee like in America, so that we can call up the fire chief and senior officers there, prison officer, prison commissioner, commissioner of police, and so on, for questioning not only on policies, but actual administration. We are being denied this, although it is there in the law. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Comrade Ramsey. And I do want to let our viewers and members of the media know that also in attendance this afternoon is the Vice Chair of the Alliance for Change, Mr. Michael Carrington, and also Member of Parliament Eureka Finance. And both are willing to answer any questions you may have on any areas. So with those two presentations, I want to take us straight to our question and answer section. Please use the raise hand feature for those that are joining us virtually and online. And of course, we have members of the media here within the studio. Thank you very much. Over to the media. Any questions from anyone?
Questions. Steve, last start, please. The first question is to Mr. Rothstein. So this is the second time, or at least you've asked before for convening of the meeting of the committee. However, I spoke with the Prime Minister, Ms. Marcos, and he had mentioned that there would be no meetings of the committee or council thus far. Considering that Parliament is on break, would there be a request for a meeting before the end of this year when National Security is in October?
Yes, there certainly will be, because we have been constantly asking for this. Yeah, there was only one meeting convened, and that was the very first meeting in which the composition of that Parliamentary Security Committee were appointed. And after that, we were informed that yes, we're going to have our Parliamentary Committee, Security Committee, and there was none. So I am asking here now that yes, indeed, it be convened immediately after the recess. But in the meantime, the minister or any spokesperson for the government, Bharat Jaggi or anybody, because we see very many times he's not speaking on all matters, to answer the question as to what is happening in relation to that investigation. And also, senior members like the Commissioner of Police will also answer. There has been what is called a shuffle, and that is not good for transparency, nor scrutiny, nor accountability.
Okay, thanks. Second question, not necessarily to you, but I'm thinking now. Ms. Martin on Tuesday had alluded that the AFC would be running by itself. He said at the press conference on Tuesday. Could anyone respond to that? Whether there are any intentions with the AFC running by itself or whether it would be its position at this time?
Well, the decision as to whether we will be in coalition as we were in 2015 will depend on our national conference. We generally take that body, which is our supreme body in relation to major decisions of the nation. We are presently, as you know, at a parliamentary level in that APU AFC coalition is parliamentary level. At the organizational level, however, as we stated in our last national conference, that we would like to go back on the ground individually to ensure that we strengthen our party groups in regions and so on. We are doing that. But that decision as to whether we do it alone or decide to go in coalition with a Commonwealth Accord that is version of 3, certainly that is also an option for us. We have not closed the door on anything.
Any other questions? Any questions from the members of the media that are on joining us virtually today? Adam, are you hearing us?
In the meantime, as we await your online representatives, I want to add that we're not just what we're talking about, it's not going to be like department, but we want to remind that this is not just for one. issue. We have issues with a lot of commitment, all and as never thought when it comes to meeting, we were spoken extensively to the fact that we have not been having these meetings as it's supposed to be once per week. We had that change in the standing order there at the National Assembly to make sure that the government is in full control of when we meet. And that is at stage right now that we meet at most once per month, as against meeting once a week. And that would be not an issue if we were up to date and with our reports, but we are not. So we have all of these, we're still on 2019 reports, matter of fact. So it's not just one committee that is not meeting regularly, and it's important to note that when it comes to oversight altogether, the parliamentary committee, those sectoral committees are their set of structure, and it has been years and years of functioning, and because that is the way which government is supposed and opposition is supposed to come together to have that oversight and scrutiny. But we're not seeing that right now. Government is certainly stepping away from every body that is set up to provide scrutiny at a parliamentary level. So I don't just want to feel that isolated as just one group, but we're not way into that we have been facing throughout.
Then thanks. But if I may,
Something like that, sorry.
if I may, the similarity is the same thing for the acquisition system. 50. We got a hard time to start at 50. But if I got it going, of course, we had the opportunity as the opposition chair and committee. And we did regular meetings, all these meetings for all except when the government side, something majority back at the pen. So in that community, despite we had it, one of the criteria, one of the articles that order that we can call any company we want in parliament. We did that already by calling a private lobby company, and they answered questions, and it was never really to drill the company, but potential the company having issues that are affecting them. But what we've seen is that the ExxonMobil and EPA, these two organizations, despite their internal, they also have a reluctancy of protecting parliament until we have to summon them legally. We now see that the government has tried to block Exxon to be participating in that call to have them come to the parliament. So I don't know what the argument they will use because we already have companies came to the meeting. I yet to see what excuse they come up with. As Mr. Ramadhan was saying that police force or fire service can come to parliament to answer questions. Similarly, the EPA is talking from us. So I'm trying to put this in a nutshell to see this is the most organized of the government. We are trying to manipulate the parliament and all that. And it's not good for governance practices. So I just want to put that out.
Okay, I do want to ask again, if there are any questions from any of our online media? I'm not sure if we have an audio issue. I'm hoping, I'm actually seeing a response, in the technician saying that they cannot hear properly other than noises in the background. I don't know if we can stop and fix that. Let me suggest we pause and we fix that issue. Thank you for your patience, members of the media. Roy, is there anything you want us to do? Are you getting audio from those mics? You should be getting audio. Okay. It's switched off, the Zoom is through my laptop, switched it off. But the question when asked will come to you. Alan, can I ask you to ask a question or just say something? We're just trying to fix an audio problem and I'm asking any member of the media just to say something so we can see if we are getting, bear with us, folks. Sorry. Okay, sorry, I can hear you now, Anna. Repeat. Sorry, Adam, I saw you were on and then you left. It actually started. Are you saying that? Sorry. Right. Okay, right. But did you hear our presentations before? Did you let us know, guys? Okay. Yes, it did. It did. I think we had an audio issue. So maybe the best thing for me to do would be to ask our presenters to re-present what they said. I do apologize for the problem that we had. So Member of Parliament Ricky Radford would just repeat your presentation now.
So my statements on loggers express concern over the procurement of green art and piles by large companies, Chinese construction companies in Guyana. The last exchange received several complaints by logging companies. The manner they are treated when supplying piles to these companies. It was reported that the grading of these products upon arriving at destinations created hard, resulting in lots of rejects for trucking. The loggers stated that they have noticed that how the Chinese nationals are now coming to them for the procurement of these products, offering smaller prices and taking the same quality of piles that were rejected by the construction companies. They are fearful that this will create a middleman scenario and further reduce the market price. It was also noted that some of the local suppliers complained and requested for a guided purchase commission to intervene, all without success. The EFC believed that with the current construction boom, all local businesses should be benefited. The rising tide floats all boats. However, the current practice argues well for the local timber producers. Public constructions is ultimately being funded by hardworking taxpayers. As such, the benefit during all phases of the project should share equitably, not just the finished project. The party is not against competition, but objects to unfair business practices, where local timber is being willfully rejected and then purchased by middlemen closely associated with the Chinese company for reduced prices, and subsequently accepted by the same contractors that initially rejected the timber. The AFC calls for the supervising engineers to be part of the grading process, avoid this discriminatory practice in the future. We also demand that the Ministry of Works implement systems and ensure local suppliers can benefit from these construction projects. While the EFC welcomes all foreign contractors, particularly the Chinese, we will not tolerate any practice that will prevent local suppliers from earning honest living. Thank you.
Thank you, Ricky Rasmussen, Member of Parliament. And again, we apologize for the preceding audio problem, and I'd like to ask Mr. Kamraj Ramcharan to make his presentation.
Thank you very much, members of the press corps. The Alliance for Change again demands from the PPP government and/or the upper echelons of the Ghana Police Force the state of affairs of the investigation into alleged fraud by higher ups in the force when money laundering was attempted at the police credit union. The people of this country would like to know if indeed over $52 million was in the personal account of a certain senior officer. The people would like to know if over $600 million was in his close relatives' accounts, and how did they manage to come by these large sums. A number of other questions have to be answered too, which will flow from answers given to these questions. The AFC had suggested an independent probe led by preferably an internationally reputable forensic team. That was not done. It seems like a massive cover-up is being undertaken. Additionally, the AFC demands that the PPP government put pressure on Minister Ben, Home Affairs Minister, to convene meetings of the Parliamentary Oversight Committee on Public Security and to have as its first order of business the summoning of the Commissioner of Police and the alleged officer involved in this alleged fraudulent scheme, and for both to be questioned by our parliamentarians in that committee. This was exactly what that committee was set up for. Institutional corruption, like political violence, grows increasingly when the environment tolerates and encourages it. When a culture fosters it so as to give credence to it and make it easier for individuals to indulge, then it will consume all of us. We can only contain this raging fire when perpetrators' actions are properly publicized and penalties meted out. It is rather troubling that the PPP government and the Ghana Police Force do not want sunshine into this matter. As I said earlier, under Standing Order 87, which standing order was created as a result of a constitutional amendment, and that is an amendment to the Constitution of Guyana, this Parliamentary Security Committee has power to scrutinize and examine policies and administration of the entities in the disciplined forces of Guyana. So as parliamentarians in that committee, we can call for books, we can summon witnesses, we can do a variety of things in relation to how the police force is being administered, not only its policies. And we can also get assistance and co-opt experts and aid from other persons with the appropriate expertise to help us in that regard. So if they do not want to have a probe by forensically internationally reputable people, we in that parliamentary committee would like to have some questions asked after the commissioner and the other senior officer who has gone on leave, I understand, to come there in that committee for questioning. It was based something akin to what a congressional committee in the United States of America has powers to do.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kemrad Ramchitan. And again, I'd like to open us to our question and answer segment. Please identify yourself and your organization and use the raise hand function if you are asking a question virtually. Over to you, the media. Adam, would you please go ahead?
Very good afternoon, everyone. Minister Ramjitan, you were talking about the police investigation. Has your party made any attempt to get answers from SOCO or what have you? Because I heard that SOCO had become upset when people were able to access information on the allegation against the Assistant Commissioner Butas. Were you able to access any information?
No, we were not. Although we attempted to, there's been complete blackout. And that is not right. An opposition party is within its rights to ask, scrutinize, and for the relevant body here, the Guyana Police Force, to answer questions. And we have been doing this constantly in this press conferences.
Thank you. I think we now have a question from Crystal Young.
Good afternoon, Crystal Young, Virginia. What are some suggestions does the AFC have for tackling illegal mining and gold smuggling? Thank you.
Illegal mining at where? Well, look, like every other,
Generally speaking,
generally speaking, well, it has to do with enforcement. Enforcement by, in relation to logging, the forest ranges that we had created for purposes of ensuring that all the regulations are adhered to by the loggers, and them going into these logging concessions, which they have powers of like policemen to go in and ensure that there's adherence to the laws and regulations under the Forestry Act and even the criminal law. Similarly with mining, and geology and mines commissioners, officers, and personnel ought to ensure that they go to these mining areas wherever there is active mining going on and see that there is no pollution, the thing is being done in accordance with the bylaws and sustainable development of our mining industry, and so on. And those who are doing it illegally or contrary to the specifications of the mining regulations, they ought to be charged or penalized, and they can do that. I understand they have powers under kind of a civil law arrangement where they can put a fine, and that fine must be paid up and then go towards the remedying of the situation. So if they made the river or burst the bank of a river or something like that, the monies that they fined, that is paid, could go towards rehabilitation of that. So enforcement is the thing. And there are lots of laws in Guyana, just like thou shalt not commit corruption by senior officers of the police force. There are laws against that. But we still see corruption. Similarly in the forestry and in the mining sector.
Let me just add a few in addition to what Mr. Ramjitan said. Look, we have to enforce and we have to improve on our monitoring using technology. And I think that is where we have to enforce more technological advancement using satellite. You can know the hotspots. You can know where illegal minings are happening. We have to also work on our border security. We have to collaborate there. We have to collaborate with other countries, and you increase on that border security, because we are talking here about smuggling of gold. I think if you recall that Curacao, was it Curacao? There was
that big smuggle in the boat. I mean, we end up got information from the international bodies, and that cooperation is what got us to get information who were smuggling, and I think they end up had to pay those fine and those uh, the royalties. To the gold mining and the way that we operating here in Guyana, it's not easy because we have a lot of haphazard way how we do mining. We have to improve on technology to ensure that we can create the land use policy where we can know exactly where minings or where the resources are. And once you can map that using the technology, you will be able to know that, okay, are we going to put this small miners here or the large miners here? So you know exactly where they are mining. But you just don't give a person a parcel of land that they're doing now and you allow them to go and work whatever they want to work. That is in itself creates a scenario where it's become illegal because they were like have a location to work here, but they're moving to another location. You don't know. But it all has to come down to regulation, as Mr. Ramjitan said, that we have to enforce it and we have to bring in technology to back it up.
Thank
If
you.
I can add to that.
Sure.
Just to add to that, I want to remind persons that in the first quarter report of the Bank of Guyana, one of the numbers that did stand out to us, and we did deal with it at the previous press conference, is that the declaration for gold from the small and medium scale operators declined by 24.2%. And I think persons need to really understand, and an in-depth investigation needs to be done into this matter, particularly because, like Mr. Ramjitan just pointed out, one of the major issues we have is enforcement of laws and regulations that are already in place. It's not like if they don't exist, but more so when you get on the ground, you would understand that the persons that are harassed, and I'm using this word very loosely, the persons that are harassed the most in the sector are the small scale miners, the ordinary man and woman that goes out there to fend for themselves and their families. And a lot of times the cases that you will find coming up is that those persons would be complaining heavily that even when they go out and they are working a lot and they are basically looking for gold prospecting, as they would call it, if they do come into areas that have gold, by the time they get and actually make applications for them to legally work the land, then you will see some persons with more connections will be given access to those lands because that is how it is done. That is how it is done right now. And so we have to definitely get a balance between how we look at these things, because yes, we're looking at the 24.2%. I'm going to say that's not from small scale miners, that's medium scale miners, more so accounting for that number in the decline there in the declarations. And we have been speaking about this for some time. We did make the comparison from 2015 to 2020, the numbers and the way in which those numbers went up when it comes to declaration of gold. And it's not because major new policies were put in place, but the enforcement was done, and hence we had those rewards coming forward immediately as we took office from 2020. So now we have been seeing decline in the declaration when it comes to gold in Guyana. So there's definitely a correlation in between the two, the people being in office and the declarations reducing and declining. So those are facts. Those are what the numbers are telling us. These numbers are being taken from the Bank of Guyana, even the finance minister's report. These are not numbers we're putting out there. 24.2% first quarter in 2024. And that, like I said, it's heavily dependent on the medium scale miners. And what we need to do is exactly what Mr. Ramjitan said. Enforce, and actually put measures in place that's going to have a balanced playing field. So you're not just harassing small scale miners, but you're actually having a system in place that's giving access, equal opportunities and access to resources so persons can mine and take care of themselves and families.
Thank you, Jurita Finance, Member of Parliament. And let me say to Adam Harris, Adam, please go ahead with your question. And then that will be followed by Crystal Young.
Yes, thank you very much. My question is for Ricky Ramsey. You talk about the problems with logging and all of this. What is the role of the Government Forestry Commission? Don't these loggers have recourse to that commission, or is the commission compromised?
Adam, it's a very interesting question. They do have recourse to the Guyana Forestry Commission. As I mentioned in my statement, that complaints were made there, but there were no success from that end. I don't think they understand that the agency is a semi-autonomous agency, and part of the responsibility is for the stakeholders, not fully government, and that's what makes a difference. I don't think they understand that rule, and I don't think they understand their function. So they have people are making complaint there, but they're not getting any success from that organization.
Thank you, Ricky. Crystal Young, Kaiser News, please go ahead.
What are your views on the 10% salary increase on auto benefits as submitted by the GTA? Thank you.
Well, that one is, again, that has its dynamics because we understand the General Counsel or a majority of the General Counsel are saying that they didn't really accept 10, 8, and 9 for the next 3 years. We are still to get what might be the narrative coming out from a position from the General Counsel, because it seems to be a fractioning of it. One fraction by Mark Light and the other by Coretta. And it is rather disastrous, I must say, because they were asking for lots more than the 10%. And we know that the government was pressuring them to accept the 10%. And it has seemed that as clear that indeed the pressures of the government did make a certain faction of the GTU's General Counsel accept the 10, 9, and 8% for the next 2 years. Look, we feel that teachers must be paid lots more than 10, 9, and 8%. And when the government use that ugly scenario whereby it says that it doesn't have fiscal space, I go back to the position of when Bara Jagdeo, I think, was senior minister, and he indicated to the public servants that he does not have any money inside our fiscal space to accommodate what the public servants were asking for sometime in 1999. And you remember we had to get an Aubrey Armstrong report when I think it was Janet Jagan that said, let Aubrey Armstrong go and see if he could find the money. And Aubrey Armstrong went and found at least, I think, 29% increase for the public servants. And you know, you can't take the PPP word for granted here. You can't take it for being truthful at all. And so when they said that they don't have fiscal space, and only a couple months ago they come back to Parliament, or a couple of weeks ago they come back to Parliament for $40 billion, how you get fiscal space? It is a lie. But they, it would appear, do not want to give a better day to our teachers for a variety of reasons, including political and ethnic, and they want to humiliate a certain section of our population. And that is what they're going to do, and even create what you call charandases, as it were, inside of trade unions. They can do that and get their way, as they did in Parliament in 2019.
Yeah, if I can add to that just a little bit. One of the things I want to say is that I think our concern should be more so the fact that the government offered teachers 10, 8, and 9% for 2024, 2025, and 2026, respectively. We need to take this very seriously as an indication of what the PPP plans to, how the PPP plans to deal with public servants overall for 2024, 2025, and 2026. Because if this is what they have tabled before the teachers,
it indicates to me that that's the direction that they're going in for all public servants. And we have an issue with that because when you were looking, I think the Stats Bureau, when I think the last number I looked at was for May 2024, the inflation was at 7.2%. And so we definitely need to look at the way in which the proposals government is making when it comes to the working class of the country, as against the resources being received by the country and the way in which is expended by the budget of the PPP. We can weigh it against other things, even looking at the fact that we know the Exim Bank is not approving the loan when it comes to the energy, but the VP is saying very, very boldly that, yeah, even if it's not approved, then we're going to go ahead and we're going to spend money towards this. And the Exim Bank isn't approving it because it's not showing feasible. So when we have these comparisons being made as to where monies are being directed, and you will see that the people actually have absolutely no interest in the working class in Guyana. And I think that is what is being shown there altogether. And I encourage persons, particularly in the media, to do a comparison as to what teachers asked for as against what was agreed by the government, because teachers went forward with a very in-depth document asking for very specific things that's going to improve the lives of teachers in Guyana. And we've mentioned so many times that it's absolutely necessary to go above and beyond to make sure that all the nation's children are taken care of. I do note that I think they started 30%. That was the ask from the inception. So for the government to actually basically say no, and at some point in time we have to put the blame where it is due, and that is solely at the feet of government. We had persons going into negotiations. I think it was the PS from the Ministry of Education that has absolutely no power, in my view, to actually make those tough decisions as to what and how finances are being directed from government to the teachers. And we need not put the blame there. It goes right up to the Minister of Finance, the President, the Vice President. Those are the persons that are calling the shots when it comes to how those decisions are. And unless they okay certain figures to come down, it will not. So this decision of 10%, 8%, and 9%, this is coming from the President, the Vice President, the Minister of Finance. And we need to take it as an indication of what all public servants would be receiving and what they're coming to offer as a government to the people of Guyana.
And just to add to my colleague's comment, imagine when Guyana was a HIPC country, registered as HIPC, highly indebted poor country, we were able to give at least a 5%. Standard, it used to be 5 to 7% increase.
Mm-hmm.
We are now supposedly the Dubai fastest growing economy, and we can only give our teachers 10% when, as Member Parliament Zurita has already mentioned, the inflation alone is 7.4%.
More than that.
More than that. So we know that 10% is going absolutely nowhere. And it's interesting that officials within the Ministry of Education in the last 2 or 3 days have announced that the decrease in mathematics passes
And
English passes is due to the strike on teachers. So you are actually acknowledging, in one hand, how important the teachers are, how important their work is, because it transfers directly to the success rates and passes of our students. And yet you are not committed to ensure that those teachers have all the resources and an acceptable living wage so they can guarantee our young people, our students, the future of Guyana can do better. Having said that, I don't know if there are any other questions from any of our members of the media online. Yes, please go ahead.
I have one, and it has to do with the same issue. Now we're talking about the 10%, the 8%, and the 9%, something like that, in the face of inflation. The question that I have is, when such decisions are being taken or have been taken, is there anything that the parliamentary opposition can do to engage with either the government or with the teachers' union to understand exactly what is going on?
There is a committee that deals with. We generally will talk to the trade unionist as to what their problems are. We also have representatives like the Shadow Minister of Education, who keeps abreast and with all these issues concerning teachers. And then we ask parliamentary questions of the minister. We also, during the course of press conferences, can ask questions. But this issue has been deliberated on at parliamentary level at the budget time when we speak on the budgetary allocations and what will go for teachers, how the increases will be. And so on that level, I would want to say that, yes, we do consult on the matter or the specific sphere of activity, teaching and education.
I think what's important to note is that if the question was, Adam, if it was going in the direction of whether or not there is any power external to what those decisions to actually change or reverse those decisions, the answer is no. Government in the structure of government in Guyana does not give way for those. So whomever is in government as is makes those decisions, and they're, as it is signed off as on there, the opposition has no power to actually make a change. The opposition power comes before that to actually support the cause, and we have been supporting the cause for teachers. We have been calling publicly for teachers to be given a livable wage, and all of those things. Those fell on deaf ears when it comes to the response given by government.
And we await another election cycle in view of the bad treatment of teachers by the PPP government, and to ask the teachers then ensure that they are not there in the 2025, post-2025 period.
An interesting statistic to add is that the change when it comes to the inflation for food items from June 2023 to June 2024 is 8%.
Food items alone.
Food items alone, 8% increase. Those are numbers that we're getting, and this you can go and look at the Bureau of Statistics website. We don't just pull these numbers out of the sky. These are the facts that this is what people are actually facing out there at the markets.
And again, why this is so unacceptable, the fact that they would have agreed on a 10%, when we all know, again, MP Jurita mentioned the Gas to Shore project that has not gotten final approval. I think the citizens of Guyana need to be reminded that over 500 million US dollars have been spent on that project. If you think about it, more than $1 billion, not million, not an M, more than $1 billion US dollars have been spent in the economy recently. And I say to the citizens of Guyana, you look around and see if you see what did you get for that $1 billion US dollars. $1 billion US dollars spent in so many other countries. You would be looking, there would be visible signs of where that money went. Transformational projects. Some countries have done monorails to deal with traffic issues, all kinds of different things. Today, we have still indigenous communities complaining about no internet access. Pit latrines. The AFC donated a toilet in 2008, a flush toilet. And we're going to release because a child fell into a pit latrine in 2008 and died. And we need to remind ourselves that out of the PPP, literally have been in power 27
That's right.
out of the last 32 years. So when the PPP says, oh, what did the APNU AFC coalition do in the 4 years, 5 years they were in government, of which 2 years they could not spend money, you, the people, have to start asking them, what did you do in the 32 years that you were running this country? It is totally unacceptable that with us making more than 8.5 million US dollars a day from oil, the best we can do for our teachers is 10%.
Excellent
Anyway,
point, excellent point.
Any other questions from our media in-house here at the Alliance for Change office or online? If not, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Again, I apologize for the technical issues we had in the beginning. We will be producing a video of the content for those that might have missed. And again, we know that accidents are a major problem in Guyana today. Please be careful this weekend. Please don't drink and drive. And thanks for joining us. See you next week. Goodbye.
Take care. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes.